everybody, welcome back to 100 Blocks in 2025. We are in the 70s with our blocks now. Today is my block number 72, and we're going to take it straight out of the Tula book and have some fun with a little fabric that I just have fallen in love with. So let's take a look at what we're doing today. All right, so we're starting here in Tula's book with block number 71 on page 161, and this is super fun because it's a super easy block. It starts with 4 squares, 2 alternating, and we're just putting a little border around the outside. So I thought I would start with, we'll make a yellow block, and I'm going to start with my little fried egg print that I have fallen in love with. I don't know why, because I don't even eat fried eggs. But we're going to have these are going to be 2.5 inch squares. So if we're making a 6.5 inch block, each one of these little guys, when they're finished right here, has to be 3.5 inches. And we have a border all the way around. So that's a 1 inch border strip, giving us a 1/2 inch strip. So if that math makes sense to you, we're doing 2.5 inch squares in the center, 2 of each print, and we're alternating them like so. And then we're going to put an opposite border around each one. So for the fried egg print, I'm going to start with a strip that is the same width as my block, 2.5 inches, but it's going to be 1 inch tall. I guess we need to move this down just a little bit. So these are one inch by 2.5 inches, and that will, when we sew it all together, will give us our extra 1 inch boost with the seam allowances. So I'm going to put my short pieces here, and then I'm going to do the same thing with my alternating piece. So they will go on the top and the bottom of my other square. So those are that. And then we're going to have, once these are sewn together, we're going to have strips on either side of the blocks that are 1 inch by 3.5 inches. And that's going to give us our final size so we can build our block. So, oops, I put them on the wrong ones. So we're going to go here and here. Obviously, you have to put them on the opposite fabric. There you go. And so that means that these dark yellow orangey strips will go around the other one. So that's how we're going to build our square. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our small pieces and attach them to the top and the bottom of each one of our squares, and they'll be opposite of the color center square. And then we're going to put our side pieces on. And once all that's done, we'll come back over and we'll look at what they look like and make sure they're properly sized, so when we put them together, they will look like the picture. So let's go sew those. All right, here we are. We have our borders on our blocks, and we're ready to sew our little blocks together like a 4-patch. Super simple, super easy. In the case of the seams, I did my best to press out on the dark and in on the light, so that I had some inside seams. But these little 1 inch strips, when you sew them, you only have 3/4 of an inch here to press out. So I did on the inside here, when I added the first little border, I did press them in as best I could, but I am not going to be able to nest anything. So my suggestion when we go to put these together is we're going to lay where we have our seam here. We're going to turn, instead of putting these 2 seams together so that you have to meet like that, we're going to turn them like so that there are no seams to meet. So here I have seams on this side, this one is going lengthwise, and the same thing here, so that you don't have to meet any of those seams, because it is very difficult to try to nest them at this point. So now that I have them all done, I'm just going to put them together and sew them as a 4-patch, and our block will be complete. And there we are, friends. We've put everything together. And I know I talked earlier about doing the seam allowances on the back. So when I sewed the 2 together, I went ahead and pressed my 2 alternating squares to the dark. So I've pressed those seams to this kind of orange yellow. And then when I sewed both the 2 rows together, I went ahead and pressed them open. And that gives us our nice, neat meeting here in the middle, so that all the seams look really nice. Nothing has to meet anywhere else, and we got our little seams together just perfectly. Hopefully that made sense to you. those pressing in the right direction. But anyway, here is our little focus fabric for patch with its little border. Love it. We're going to keep making more blocks. I hope that you're still making more blocks. And if you want more inspiration, you can head on over to cabinquilters.com.